Hi, welcome back to my little corner of the internet. Today's tutorial will be going over how to make this little piggy. For a list of materials and tools, please look at the description box below. So let's get started. We're going to start with the head / body. So we're going to start with round 1 with a magic circle with 6 stitches. For round 2, we're going to do increases in all 6 stitches. We're going to end up with 12 stitches in the end. For round 3, we're going to do single crochet and then an increase. We're going to do this pattern 6 times and end up with 18 stitches in the end. For round 4, we're going to do 2 single crochets and then an increase. We're going to do this pattern 6 times and end up with 24 stitches in the end. For round 5, we're going to do single crochet in all stitches. We're going to end up with 24 stitches in the end. For round 6, we're going to do 3 single crochets and then an increase. We're going to do this pattern 6 times and end up with 30 stitches in the end. For round 7, we're going to do single crochet in all stitches. We're going to end up with 30 stitches in the end. For round 8, we're going to do 4 single crochets and then an increase. We're going to do this pattern 6 times and end up with 36 stitches in the end. From round 9 to 15, we're going to do single crochet in all stitches. We're going to end up with 36 stitches in the end. I'll finish the remaining rounds off screen. I'll see you back at round 15. We're back at round 15, and before we continue, we're going to put in the safety eyes. We're going to put the safety eyes between round 9 and 10 with 5 stitches in between the safety eyes. For round 16, we're going to do 5 single crochet and then an increase. We're going to do this pattern 6 times and end up with 42 stitches in the end. For round 17, we're going to do 5 single crochets and then a decrease. We're going to do this pattern 6 times and end up with 36 stitches in the end. For round 18, we're going to do 4 single crochet and then a decrease. We're going to do this pattern 6 times and end up with 30 stitches in the end. For round 19, we're going to do 3 single crochets and then a decrease. We're going to do this pattern 6 times and end up with 24 stitches in the end. Before I continue, I'm just going to stuff this a little bit with polyfibers. For round 20, we're going to do 2 single crochets and then a decrease. We're going to do this pattern 6 times and end up with 18 stitches in the end. Before I continue, I'm just going to stuff this a little bit with polyfibers. For round 21, we're going to do a single crochet and then a decrease. We're going to do this pattern 6 times and end up with 12 stitches in the end. Finish, I'm just going to make sure that it's stuffed all the way to the point where it's well stuffed. For round 22, we're going to do decreases. We're going to do this 6 times and end up with 6 stitches in the end. When you get to the end, make sure you fasten off. But before you fasten off, make sure your stuffy is well stuffed before you close off. Next, we're going to work on the snout. We're going to start with row 1 with 4 chains. Now working from the second stitch from the hook, you're going to do 3 single crochet back down the chain. We're going to continue on the stitch, but we're just going to turn it slightly, and we're going to do an increase in 1 stitch, and then we're going to do 2 single crochet, and then finally finishing off with an increase. We should have 9 stitches in the end, and we're now working in a round. So in round 2, we're going to do 2 single crochet and then an increase. Then we're going to do 3 single crochets and then an increase. We're going to finish off this piece with a slip stitch. We should end up with 10 stitches in the end. When you finish, make sure you leave a long tail for sewing. To finish off the snoot, we're gonna use some brown yarn and we're just gonna sew in some nostrils. Next, we're going to work on the ears. We're going to start with row 1 and we're going to start with 2 chains, and then working on the second stitch from the hook, we're just going to do an increase. We should have 2 stitches in the end. Before going to row 2, we're just going to do a chain and turn. For row 2, we're going to do 1 single crochet and then an increase. We should have 3 stitches in the end. Before we continue, we're just going to do a chain and then we're going to flip the project over. For row 3, we're going to do 2 single crochet and then an increase. We'll have 4 stitches in the end. Before we continue, we're just going to do a chain and then we're going to flip the project over. For row 4, we're going to do 3 single crochet and then an increase. We should have 5 stitches in the end. So once we finish row 4, instead of chaining 1 and continuing, we're just going to single crochet all around the ears to clean up all the edges. So we're going to start with 3 single crochet along the edge, and then when you get to a point, you're going to do an increase. Then you go back to 3 single crochet down the edge, and then you're going to do another increase on a point. You should end up with 10 stitches in the end. When you finish, make sure you leave a long tail for sewing. Make sure you go back and make another one. You'll need 2 for this project. Next, we're going to work on the tail. We're going to start with row 1 and we're going to do chain 5. Once you finish the 5 chain, you're going to work on the second stitch from the hook, and you're going to do 3 single crochet into 1 stitch. You're going to keep doing that to all 4 stitches, and you're going to end up with 12 stitches in the end, and your tail should be curly. When you finish, make sure you leave a long tail for sewing. Next, we're going to work on the legs. We're going to start with round 1 with a magic circle with 6 stitches. For round 2 to 3, we're going to do single crochet in all stitches. We should have 6 stitches at the end of each round. For round 4, we're just going to do a slip stitch to close. When you finish, make sure you leave a long tail for sewing. Go back and make sure you make 3 more. You'll need 4 for this project. Now for the fun part, we get to assemble our doll. We're going to start with the snoot, and I'm just going to cut off all these extra bits and pieces just to get them out of the way so it's easier to sew. You're going to place the snout right between the 2 eyes, and you're going to put them a little higher just to make it a little bit cuter, and you're going to pin them securely in place before you start sewing. That's very important. So I used 3 pins here just to make sure it doesn't move. Next, we're going to sew on the ears, but first I have to untangle them. So here I'm placing the ears about 3 rounds from the top of the head. Next we're going to do the arms. We're going to place them right underneath the eyes and 2 stitches to the right. When you sew on the left leg, you're going to do it right underneath the eye, 2 stitches to the left. Before you close off, I'm just going to stuff it with extra piece of yarn just to give it some volume. Now we're going to sew on the little legs. So we're going to just sew it right underneath, parallel to the right and left legs, just like so. Last but not least, we're just going to go to the back of the doll and we're going to sew on the tail, and we're going to make sure that's in the middle before sewing on. The final touches is to add a little blush underneath the eyes, and there you have it. You'll have this really cute little piggy. And that's how you make this adorable little piggy. If you want to see other tutorials, please continue to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more tutorials in the future. Thanks, bye!